was unable to get an audience for today's speech. Do you remember the Tokyo 2020 Olympics? Perhaps you remember the United States sweeping the medal count, winning 113 medals. But do you remember when Simone Biles, who is considered the greatest gymnast of all time, dropped out of the competition due to mental health struggles? According to recent studies, 35% of elite athletes have reported to struggle with their mental health. And additionally, as college students, according to Athletes for Hope, 33% of collegiate athletes have reported to struggle with their mental health. Unfortunately, mental health is a major problem in sports, and therefore efforts need to be made to provide easily accessible resources to athletes struggling with their mental health and educational materials on ways to combat these issues. As an athlete myself, and someone who has personally struggled with mental health in my sport, and someone who has done an immense amount of research over the topic, I'm going to be speaking about the effects of mental health and the effects it has on athletes as it hinders their performance, and ways to combat and treat the issue. Mental health is a major problem in collegiate sports, affecting 33% of collegiate athletes. According to Cambridge Behavioral Health, underlying conditions, which are conditions that are already existing, are often going to lead to greatly affecting athletic performance in other ways, such as leading to a loss of motivation, a lack of focus, poor achievement, and sports injuries. So the 4 primary mental health conditions that athletes are going to face are stress, anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So stress is often going to be caused by pressure, just an athlete setting high expectations, high goals for themselves, and then always feeling as they have to achieve these goals, just going to lead to them being stressed out, most likely if they're always focusing on these goals and just feeling as if they're never going to get there. So although stress is the mental issue, the primary effects of it are actually going to be physical, as stress can affect sleep. And if an athlete's not getting the proper sleep they need, they're not going to be able to get their proper recovery. Stress can also lead to injury, and injury is perhaps one of the worst, if not the worst thing that can happen to an athlete, as if they're injured, it's not that they're not going to be able to perform to their full potential, they most likely just won't even be able to even perform in their sport at all. Nextly, looking at anxiety. Anxiety is mainly going to affect performance, as it's going to lead to issues with confidence. If an athlete's not confident in themselves, if they don't believe in themselves and their abilities, they're never going to be able to reach their full potential. And like stress, anxiety can also have physical results, as it can also lead to injury. Nextly, depression. Like stress and anxiety, depression can also have physical effects, mainly just affecting an athlete's overall physical health, as it can just lead to eating issues, eating disorders, which can result in sudden weight loss, sudden weight gain. If an athlete's physical health is not good, obviously they'll never be able to perform to their full potential and even to a good standard at all. Depression can just also have effects such as just showing up. An athlete might not even want to show up to games or practice anymore, maybe both, or maybe it's just one in specific, but their sport may begin to feel like a chore rather than something they once loved and enjoyed doing. Obviously, if someone's feeling as if they have to do something rather than wanting to do something, they're not going to want to put the same amount of effort forward. Rather, if they're loving and enjoying something, they're going to want to work hard for it, going to want to achieve their goals. Nextly, looking at PTSD, this one is most likely caused by just a bad experience an athlete had. Maybe it was an injury, or maybe it was an experience with the person, whether that be a coach or another player. This is just where an athlete's going to constantly be having flashbacks of that one event, and this perhaps may lead to avoidance, just leading to them no longer wanting to show up to practice games, both, one in particular. They're just going to want to avoid their sport at all costs, whether it be because of a person or an event. It's overall just going to lead them to wanting to be away from their sport, which is also, of course, going to therefore not allow them to reach their full potential. So there are a few signs of mental health issues in athletes, and these are also further results of the 4 main mental health conditions previously mentioned. So these come from Sports Medicine Weekly, and they include excessive drug or alcohol abuse, sudden weight loss or weight gain. This is most likely due to depression, due to just eating disorders being caused. Also self-isolation. The athlete's just always going to want to be by themselves, never go anywhere, never be with anybody else, rather just force themselves to be alone. Also extreme fatigue. This one is most likely caused by stress, as athletes not getting proper sleep. Sudden mood swings, and then quitting, which just really refers to suddenly quitting. This one would most likely be due to depression. An athlete just bottles everything up, and all of a sudden they just can't take it all anymore and quit out of nowhere. And the last one would be suicidal thoughts. If you ever witness an athlete exhibiting any type of suicidal thoughts, even if it's a very, very slim remark, you should definitely report it as soon as you can and just get them the proper help they need immediately. It is definitely the most serious out of these 7 signs listed. So, although mental health is a big issue among athletes, thankfully there are ways to solutions and just ways to combat the issue. So, according to Kaiser Permanente athletes who train their minds are likely to perform better. And there are 6 solutions for athletes struggling with their mental health. The first being a support system. This is just an athlete having people around them who will support them through the highs and the lows. Of course, you want people there with you who are going to celebrate your success, just people who know how hard you've worked, how much time and effort you've put into achieving your goals, and just being there to celebrate when you finally achieve them. But it's just as important, and perhaps even more important, to have people who will support you even through the lows, even when you feel as if you'll never achieve your goals, never get to where you want to be. They're constantly there, encouraging you and building you up. Nextly, you need to draw boundaries, and this is mainly referring to time. Your sport should not be your whole identity. It should not take up your whole life. Yes, it can be a big part of your life, something that you're very passionate about, but you need to find time to do other things as well, whether it be school, work, or just mainly time, just spending time doing things that you enjoy. You need to have time away from your sport. It should not be taking up your whole life. This is what's going to lead to burnout, fatigue. And if you're burned out, fatigued, you'll never be able to reach your full potential in your sport. Nextly, you should look into ways to have self-care. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a spa or pure relaxation as shown in this picture, but this is just a suggestion or idea. But another ways that you can take care of your self-care is things such as journaling. Look into journaling, writing down your thoughts and feelings, reflecting on your day, perhaps looking into a form of art. This can range in so many different ways, whether it be puzzles, painting, drawing, diamond art. There are so many different forms of art, and perhaps you can find one that you enjoy doing that just allows you to truly relax, take your mind away from your sport, and just also engaging in things such as nature, going outside, taking a hike, maybe taking some pictures of a sunset, just ultimately anything that's going to take your mind off of your sport and something that you enjoy doing outside of your sport. The next one is to set goals, but rather than one big goal that is almost unachievable, setting smaller goals that you can reach day by day or week by week. Just not one big goal, but ultimately smaller goals. Because if you're setting one big unachievable goal and you're not reaching it, obviously your mental health is not going to be good. You're going to be down on yourself. But rather, if you're breaking it down, setting smaller goals, you're most likely going to want to keep going as you hit a goal. The next one is positive self-talk. And this is just telling yourself things such as, I can do this, I will do this. Never telling yourself that you can't, but rather always being positive towards yourself. Maybe you can write sticky notes with positive messages hanging up on your mirror. It sounds kind of tacky, but it is a good tactic if you just want to keep a positive mindset. And the last one, and this is perhaps the last resort, this is to get help. If the 5 solutions did not do you any good, perhaps you need to take it a step further and look into getting help, whether this be speaking to a loved one, a family member, a friend, or perhaps even taking it to the next level and looking into getting professional help. There are so many professionals out there who will be willing and knowing of ways to treat you. That way you can get back to doing the sports you love and doing so at your full potential. So do never be afraid from seeking help if you need it, because at the end of the day, it will be worth it once you're able to do what you love and do it at your full potential. So in conclusion, mental health is a common issue among athletes that needs more attention, as it can hinder performance and even affect the greatest athletes. As I spoke about Simone Biles, she is just one of many who has just publicly announced her issues with mental health. And although mental health is a major issue, there is hope in the fact that there is solution and there is ways to combat these issues. Sports are a great way for athletes to showcase their God-given gifts and talents, but if we do not treat these issues, we're going to miss out on so much greatness and so much potential. So providing resources and providing easily accessible treatment and education materials will therefore allow athletes to have a healthy and strong mindset, and therefore able to once again love their sport and just perform to the best of their ability. As we walk into this fresh year, only 2 months in, we should look into having a reduction in athletes held back by their mind, and rather than a world full of athletes who are excelling and confident in themselves and excelling in their sports.